The title of today's episode is called This Is Not a Call Out. And I want to be clear from the beginning. This is not revenge. This is not bitterness. This is not about getting even. This is about mental health. Because telling the truth, especially the quiet truth, is how I protect my mind. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Gates. He once said that I don't get tired, I get inspired. Now let that breathe. That stuck with me because people may fail you, but the inspiration you have for yourself can't be taken, and it doesn't expire. People may fail you, but self inspiration never leaves. Now let that breathe. Now, let me ask you something. Are you someone who owns a business or is building something meaningful, especially a black owned business? Or maybe you're just someone with a vision, ideas, integrity. Have you ever noticed how your mental health shifts the the longer you're in the building phase? Not because you stop believing in yourself, but because the support stopped moving with you. Amen. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about the mental health of building. The mental health side of building something that is rarely talked about. It's waking up motivated and going to sleep questioning yourself. It's believing in your vision while watching people slowly stop responding. See, that's not weakness, that's emotional labor. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about hope versus numbers. Let me say that again. Hope versus numbers. And I want to say this honestly. Hope is powerful, but hope without consistency will drain you mentally. When people tell you they support you, but the numbers don't match the words, you don't just feel disappointed, you start questioning yourself, and that's where mental health starts to hit. Now, I want to take a moment and I want you to understand that we are living in a world that measures before it cares about anything. We live in a world that listens to numbers before it listens to the people. Followers decide who you're gonna be and your creatability of yourself. Likes decides the values, and engagements decides the respect. And when your numbers don't look like it's supposed to be, or it doesn't look impressive, yet people starts to treat you like you're not equal. They do not start treating you like you are. They start treating you something different. See, that gap it messes with your confidence if you don't name it. Now I want to take a moment and I want to talk about the mental health of being of being black in business. Now, I want to add black to this because, excuse me, this is a big part of what we are facing in America. Black owned business are popping up everywhere and is beautiful. But it comes with pressure. Pressure to improve yourself, pressure to compete, pressure to look successful before you actually feel secure. That pressure doesn't motivate everybody. Sometimes it weighs on your mental health. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about black owned um, demographics. When you tell another black person that that you also have a business, sometimes the energy changes. Not always out of hate, but sometimes out of competition, and sometimes out of intimidation, and sometimes out of survival. And when and when the community starts to feel like competition, your nervous systems, it starts to feel the pressure. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about trust, networking, and the emotional safety of it. One of the hardest parts of building isn't work, it's finding people you can trust. People you can invest in, people you can grow with, people you can network with without feeling like you're being sized up. You follow what I'm saying? That lack of self, that lack of self, in a self involvement, and the lack of effort for your mental health, because humans are meant to build alone. We are not meant to build alone. We're meant to build together, to stand strong with one another. Now, there's two different parts of the phases that I believe that in being a business owner and thing, that's the idea phase and the execution phase. People love you when you're in your idea phase, and they clap for your vision. Okay, they celebrate the potential. But when it's time to build, when ideal starts becoming real and cooperation starts to get quiet, and that silence can feel personal if you don't understand what it really is. Now, what I'm about to talk about is a leadership moment. I want to talk about addressing the unseen. I learned something that changed how I move. Do you hear me? If something is going to be healthy, you have to address what's unseen, because unspoken things grow loud in the mind. And mental health suffers when clarity is missing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about age, maturity, and realization. I'm 39 years old, and I'm at the point in my life that I don't personalize everything anymore. I've learned that lack of support does not mean lack of value. Um, Sometimes it just means the environment isn't ready for who you're becoming. So, so that realization of that saved my mental health. And you know, I want to I want to say this, you know, I want you guys to understand the word platform. What I want you guys to understand what my platform is and what the JustBox platform is. You know, this is why this platform exists. Not to judge people, not to rank people, but to meet people where they are. To recognize people before the world decides they're worth recognizing. Because mental health starts with feeling seen. Now, you know, I want to talk about, getting ready. I want to talk about, you know, the potential of doing things the ultimate way, they say. I want to talk about being firm, being shareable. If you're building something and the support feel inconsistent, you're not crazy. You're not unvalued. And you're not invisible. What you are navigating a system that measures numbers before it honors humanity. This is not a call out. This is an awareness. And awareness is power. You know, we have to be able to accept what is given to us. And we have to be able to address what has been handed to us. Because if you do not address what has been handled to you, you will never understand your purpose. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is your girl, Chandra Clark. And I thank you again just for tuning in for the JustBox podcast. Thank you again. You guys have a good day. Bye bye.